things in thy holy name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're going to be playing a little injured tonight. Ron Nally is homesick. And I don't want any applause after this. Stephen Weber can't talk. And everybody else isn't feeling too great either. So we'll see how we can jump through the agenda as quickly as we can, and we'll move forward. Item number 2 is the adoption of the agenda.
I have one item to add, if we could, Mayor. Under item E, a motion to enter into closed session in accordance with GS 143-318.11A3 for attorney-client privilege or legal claims.
Motion made by Bob. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by John. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Any other changes to the agenda? Hearing none.
Oh, excuse me.
I'm sorry. CIP. Okay, I'm sorry, I was going to do that when we got down to that. The CIP under the town manager communications, because he's sick, we will move that to the 31st. We will be having a specially called meeting to deliberate on some work at Lake Lure Classical Academy, the purpose of which will be to grant them, if the work is done, a CO at that time. So we will be meeting, have a special meeting of town council, and we'll cover the TIC, PCI, excuse me, CIP at that time. Okay. Under the mayor communications, there was a request that we put a proclamation about Lake, about school choice.
Excuse me, Mayor, don't we need to approve the agenda? We
Okay.
made the motion, did the conversation. and
Okay,
then-
do I hear a motion to approve the agenda as modified?
So
Yes.
moved.
Okay, moved by John, second by Bob. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Under the mayor communications, again, we were asked if we put in a proclamation about school choice, and I said because we have Lake Lure Classical Academy that we do that. We don't have to vote on it unless somebody disagrees with school choice. We can pull that out of the booklet. Otherwise, we'll move on.
Explain that, please. What do you mean by school choice?
Okay, I'll read the proclamation. Okay, proclamation by Mayor Bob Keith, Lake Lure, North Carolina, recognizing January 22nd to 28th, 2017 as Lake Lure School Choice Week. Whereas all children in Lake Lure should have access to the highest quality education possible. And whereas Lake Lure recognizes the important role that an effective education plays in preparing all students in Lake Lure to be successful adults. And whereas quality education is critically important to the economic vitality of Lake Lure. And whereas North Carolina is the home of a variety of high-quality public and non-public schools from which parents can choose for their children, in addition to families who educate their children in the home. And whereas educational variety not only helps to diversify our economy, but also enhances the vibrancy of our community. And whereas Lake Lure has many high-quality teaching professionals in all types of schools, settings who are committed to educating our children. It's probably more like county. And whereas School Choice Week is celebrated across the country by millions of students, parents, educators, schools, and organizations to raise awareness of the need for effective educational options. Now therefore, I, Bob Keith, do hereby recognize January 22nd to 28th, 2017 as Lake Lure School Choice Week, and I call this observance to the attention of all of our citizens. And again, unless somebody disagrees vehemently with that, I'll leave it in the packet.
Thank you.
I make
Okay,
a
well-
motion for
Okay. Moving on to council liaison reports and comments. Steve was unable to attend your meeting, so you have nothing to report. So, John, you wanna?
Zoning and planning board did not meet in December.
Okay. Mary Ann?
The Lake Advisory Board met yesterday. I'm trying to remember if they voted on this or this is coming from the next meeting. They did discuss some issues, and I don't have the minutes to be precise on that. I apologize. So I'm going to withhold that for now. The ABC Board did meet last month, and will meet again next week. They met with our town manager and the architect who was commissioned to plan the renovations for the strip mall. And there was discussion as to whether or not that building was the board's choice. Also, discussion of drawing or having someone draw plans to the building at Dr. Birch's former office, and the possibility of having a special meeting once that was done to discuss it further, and the special meeting hasn't occurred, and I haven't seen those plans, so I'll be looking to see what direction that has taken next Tuesday when we have our next meeting.
Okay. All right, Bob?
The December meeting for the utility board was canceled, so there was no meeting.
Okay. With that, we'll move on to the next item, which is public comment. No one has signed up for a public comment. Is there anybody who have changed their mind, would like to come forward? Hearing, seeing none. We'll move on to the next item, is the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion regarding the consent agenda?
Steve?
Steve moves it.
Steve moves it. I'm
Make
sorry.
a motion
I
with
didn't
this
see it. Okay, Steve makes a motion to
approval.
approve it. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Bob. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 It's unanimous. Okay, moving on to item number 9, unfinished business. The Duke Energy Grant, electric vehicle charging station. And there's been some changes, and Shannon will be here to talk about them.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of months ago, we requested permission from the council to apply for the grant. We did. It was we applied for a $20,000 grant, 100% reimbursable from Duke Energy for electric vehicle charging stations. Excuse me. We received word back from Duke Energy that they did award a grant, but it was only an amount of $5,000. We took some real preliminary bids from folks as to what the equipment would be. We found those numbers to be high. They exceeded the $5,000 substantially. Since that information was received and memo drafted, we did receive some additional information that basically said that those numbers were considerably lower. So what are we talking about in terms of numbers? The grant is for $5,000. That's 100% reimbursable. We can get equipment that's a dual port, means you can charge 2 vehicles simultaneously. We can purchase that equipment for roughly $6,500. That does not include installation. So we're short basically $1,500 for the equipment purchase. The installation, it's my guess, but you're probably looking between a couple thousand, $3,000 to install that. I'll defer to Commissioner Cameron on that. So by the time you add that up, looks as if we're gonna be short about $4,500, perhaps a little bit less, to have these installed. Recommendation is a couple of different ways. One is we can say 5,000 is the bottom line. If we can make it work for that, we'll make it work. If we can't, then we'll withdraw and won't participate in this grant opportunity. Another opportunity would be, since this charging station is being placed at the visitor center, we go back to the Rutherford County TDA. We're gonna put visitors in the visitor center when they come and they charge their vehicle. We could go back to them and ask for the difference. We basically will find the 5,000 with the grant. We ask for the $4,500 from the TDA, or we could split those amounts. We could secure the 5,000, we could split the 4,500 with the TDA. In other words, that's about 22, five apiece. Multiple ways we can do this. Some of you may have some ideas of your own.
Well, I think it's a good project for a community because everyone, they're starting to buy these electric cars and we need to have that service. Since we are so remote too, it's a long ways to the next charging station. Shannon and I have worked on it. I've actually got my supplier also is going to give another quote, but we've got the quotes now down to about half of what they used to be. And we'll be glad, my company will be glad to actually do that at cost for as far as materials, and we'll donate the labor to do it. So I think material cost you'd be less, about 1,000, 1,500 max, and we'll do all the labor for free.
That's very generous. I did have a couple questions. One is, have we seen a need for this? Have we had requests or inquiries that would lead us to think that we need it? And I know that these vehicles are being produced, but I read a recent consumer report where they have done some analysis and came to the conclusion that it would be cheaper to run them on the hybrids on the gasoline than to recharge them. So I don't know what the future of it may be, but I just wondered if we've had requests or any indication that people would use it if we had it.
Well, the first indication came from our town manager, Mr. Nally, who had participated in this grant before and had them installed there at Montreat, and seemed to find success with those. In your packet, there's a long list of counties and towns that have secured these grants and are currently installing these in those municipalities. One of the cases that has been made is by having these installed and being placed on a public route of charging stations, then you basically are bringing a new type of tourist to your community, because now you have facilities available. And so they watch and they basically go from port to port as they move and as they tour. So the idea was to link this with a visitor center, perhaps allow them to cover some of the cost for us, and then have that visitor come to Lake Lure, spend the night, spend money, and create that nexus with the visitor center and the TDA. So there's a possibility there. But as far as an actual study goes, I haven't read one.
And the
that
cost of
describes
the
demand.
actual electricity for the charging would be borne by the town or by the chamber, or what's the intent there?
Right. Well, they pay the bulk when they come. They're swiping their card and they're paying for the
Okay.
electricity that's charging
So
their vehicle.
it's a pay deal,
It is.
okay.
But there also may be a minimum charge that is about the equivalent of what it would cost to put in one of the lamps that we have on contract with Duke. So
Okay.
it's that kind of cost that we're looking at.
Are there any recurring costs?
That would be the kind of
That's all
recurring
in one.
cost.
Yeah.
Right. Would be basically equivalent to what we would pay to have a lamp installed.
Okay. And I guess maybe this is a question for Bob. These things last for a long time or?
They've got a good reputation, and like I said, you see them in Asheville and people are using them. And also they're going to a more electric hybrid that's really no fuel, it's just all electric, coming along in the future, so. The demand's increasing. I mean, it's not 500% demand right now, but it is increasing, and with our tours coming this way, I think this would be something that would be an asset to us. And with this grant, that's a big savings on the cost, and then the installation between our people and where the electric work, we can have it hooked up.
In the packet, there's a list of jurisdictions that are participating in the program. The town of Rutherfordton recently secured this grant as well.
As long as they,
Steve,
yeah.
Steve's given me a note here that asked me to read for him that he would not want to spend more than 5,000 above the grant, or
No more than the grant.
no more than
No
the
more
grant.
than the grant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be tough to do because the charging units, I think we're at $6,400 or something like that for the charging unit cost. And if I can get a lower price from my supplier, I will, but then the wire, I mean, we've got, for each charging port, takes number 10 wire, which is 40 cents a foot times 3 conductors or 6 conductors. We'd be running X number of feet, say 100 feet. So you're gonna spend, I think it'd be less than $1,000 since it'd just be material only. But this will be your most reasonable cost while this grant's available.
And the TDA, we don't know yet if they would be
We-
willing to.
That's what this discussion's about. Should we go to them and say, hey, will you split the cost, anything above the grant?
That
I
was
think
my
we should,
thinking.
yeah.
We can go that direction and,
We certainly can do that. We're looking probably at a total cost, I think we're up to, if the town were to go with Mr. Cameron's offer, to go with cost of materials and free installation and purchase the 2-port
right,
unit,
Yeah.
you're up to $7,500 now.
that's correct.
So it could be that we go back to TDA and basically say, if you guys will provide the 2,500, we're good for the 5,000. We'll
And
get
then-
reimbursed for
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And then the,
Let them pay
If
the
they'll pick up
difference
the
and tell them we'll
25.
pick up the installation or something. But
Right.
we can negotiate that. But
Good.
I'd just like to give Shannon direction to be able to go ahead and communicate with the TDA and see what
Sure.
he can
You need a
negotiate with
motion
them.
for that, and can you just do it?
we can do it.
Okay.
I think a motion would be, a formal motion would be better if
Yeah.
we did that.
I'll make that motion that we allow Shannon to communicate with the TDA and see what he can negotiate and then come back and report to us.
Motion made by Bob, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by John. All in favor, say aye.
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 It's unanimous.
Was that on Stevens note?
Okay. 3-1.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't hear you.
No.
Okay. All right, 3-1.
3-1.
Sorry, I'll be more
He didn't need to speak up anyway.
diligent.
Smart aleck.
Okay. Item number B, under unfinished business, the Anthroware contract, the boat permit database. We were handed a series of concerns that our database people, our clerks out front have. Currently, some issues that are outstanding with the software. Basically, the software company, just to paraphrase it, came in late last year with a certain charge. They have come back and made some changes, and there's been a little dissatisfaction with some of the quality that they've provided us. In addition, we've paid for some software monthly bills, and so we're at a point in time where we have to decide what we're gonna do. Whether we're gonna continue on with these folks, whether we're gonna make changes, what's the major upside amount that we're gonna spend. And I know this is one that Steve would wanna weigh in on, but maybe we can hear from somebody else first.
Well, I want to try.
Okay,
We're $55,000 over budget. We need to fix that. We need to stop the money drain. We need to stop further work on this project until they can come tell us what we can expect.
I agree with Stephen. If we approved, I think, $28,000 for this, and we're not informed as a council until our last retreat that we had out at the Tryon Equestrian Center, that the town had spent over $70,000 on this. There's a big problem with that, and Stephen, if I'm speaking for you, nod your head, I guess, but I know I'm speaking for myself here. I want to know how that happened. Because I remember when this first came up, we were asked for $15,000. It was a year we had a really tight budget, and I was not in favor of it, and I think that some others might not have been in favor of it. Because all it's doing is we're keeping up with the boat permits. And it seemed to me, I'm not an accountant, but it seemed to me something could be done on a ledger sheet. And to spend $15,000 on keeping up with a couple hundred boat, or a few hundred boat permits, however many we have, just, wasn't registering. Well, the next year, it came up again, but it came up after we had told the town manager at the time to bring us a balanced budget, that we didn't want a tax increase. All right, well, he brought us a balanced budget, but he also had $28,000 in there for this. So, okay, you found the money, we decided to go along with it. And I know there've been numerous times that we have had to vote as a council to approve budget changes, and for amounts much less than this. So, I, for one, think that we need a full accounting of how this happened, and some assurances that something like this won't happen again, and that we don't spend one more nickel with this company until we have more information, and maybe even not then. But I don't know that in my 7.5 years on this council, I've been more disappointed in anything that's happened than this.
And I think we all agree with that. It's like the old movie, The Money Pit. It just keeps going, and the performance is not there. And so therefore, I think haven't spoken to Mary Ann yet, but I think we're all in agreement that there'll be no more money spent. We need them sitting in front of us and explain how we go this much over budget with nobody asking us for approval.
Well, I don't think we want to spend all of the money that we are getting from boat permits from people who expect it to be used for maintenance of the lake and throw it into software that doesn't work and has to be continually upgraded. I finally figured out that was the purpose of this computer that's mounted on the wall up front, so that you could come in to get your boat permit and you go over and do the computer. That's all I need, is one more computer to have to figure out. But anyway, the software to put all of the information into it, which it didn't get into it. The commercial permits haven't been done, and that's a whole nother issue and more money. What I recall was the need to redo the software, which I thought this company was going to do for a set fee that would then be our software. What I feel like is happening is that they are creating their software that they have to continually update, and I'm not sure we own it, will ever be able to work with it without just giving them more money. So I agree that needs to stop. we could create a job and hire somebody to keep the ledger John mentioned. There are many ways to do this. We could probably get a college student who is a computer whiz to take on a project for next to nothing and create software that we can use and adjust for our future needs. So I agree that we need to stop and take note of where we are and what we've done and not throw good money after bad.
Well, ordinarily, I wouldn't think this is necessary, but since this has gotten to where it is as it has, I think that we need to have a motion, and I'll make the motion that we not spend any more money whatsoever, that not another check be written to whatever the name of this software company is until we agree as a body that that we will spend any other money, and I really don't see that happening. But
I'll
at any rate,
second that.
Yeah, that's my motion.
Okay, motion made by John, second by Bob. Any further discussion?
Yeah, make sure that includes any bills that are coming in for work prior done. No money whatsoever.
Okay, second by Bob. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
I have a motion. I misspoke. We're only 45,000 over. I make a motion.
Okay, all right, I'll read. Stephen's motion is to correct financial issues.
The current.
All right. Stephen's motion is to correct current financial issues to date via budget amendment.
Stop.
And that's all?
Stop.
Okay. All right, so that's another motion in addition to
Right.
this one. Okay.
Right.
It's basically to get us
Bring
whole,
us up to
get
date.
us back on track, get us up to date.
Yeah, to do what's necessary to correct
The
the
budget.
problem that we have with the budget being out of balance right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll
do I hear a
second.
second?
I'll
Second by Bob. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous? Okay. Moving on to new business. Excuse me, everybody. Buffalo Creek Park Trail Damage Assessment and Recommendations. Could we have, who's going to be speaking on that? All right, Larry?
Evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. Appreciate you having me on the agenda this evening. I'd like to formally thank the scheduler for putting me in the enviable position of being after the previous discussion about you guys spending money.
As long as you don't want money, you're fine.
You know, that's going to be an issue then.
Larry, you have always shown great results for the amount of money that
Thank
you all
you.
have gotten.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. I appreciate that. I am here today representing the Parks and Rec Board for the town. I'd also like to I'd also like to note Ed Dittmer here in attendance. He's part of Parks and Rec. And I'd like to point out Peter Barr from the Carolina Mountain Land Conservancy, CMLC, who has been a wonderful partner of Parks and Rec and a wonderful partner for the town.
And who's his supervisor?
That is his supervisor, his wife Allison.
Oh,
That's right,
okay.
yeah. Let's see, where are we? I wanted to point out to you that you have three reports in your packet. The third one was entered in just as the meeting began this evening. But the first two reports are with regards to the topic that I'm here to speak to you about this evening, which is a recommendation and a request for funding to fix the damage at Buffalo Creek Park that is related to the recent Party Rock firefighting efforts by the North Carolina Forestry Service. The two reports, excuse me, that are in your packet are one was created by Peter Barr from CMLC. The other report was created by our own Clint Calhoun. Peter's report is primarily regarding the trail damage, or the damage to the trail system at Buffalo Creek Park. Clint's report is primarily regarding the erosion issues as a result of that damage. Important to note that those two reports were done in coordination and complementary to one another. So Peter has been working with Clint and the town staff to get these to get the reports done. Peter's report pretty much details the what happened, the what's recommended and why about the damage. But I'd like to hit some of the highlights for you, if I may, and open it up to questions if you have any along the way or afterwards. In terms of what happened, during the latter stages of the Party Rock fire, the North Carolina Forestry Service needed to establish two fire lines that were both located within Buffalo Creek Park. There was what I refer to as a western dozer line. We're not going to talk about that tonight in detail, just to say that the primary issues regarding the western dozer line are erosion control issues. There was very minimal, if any, trail damage done with that one. We'll be doing, and actually Peter is going to be doing this, a forthcoming assessment report on the western dozer line, and we'll get back to you all as appropriate on that. The second dozer line is what I refer to as the eastern dozer line, which is on the eastern side of Buffalo Creek Park. That dozer line was created up a ridge and literally dissected or intersected 13 of the switchbacks that are included on that side of the trails within Buffalo Creek Park. Created extensive and severe damage to the trails and extensive and severe potential for erosion within that area. The list of what we need to do regarding that particular damage on the eastern side is basically related to fixing the trail that was there and remediation for the erosion potential that is now there that could do further damage to the trail and could have further soil loss and could do damage to the actual Buffalo Creek, which is in a conservation easement as well. So there's some serious issues as it relates to this. The report that Peter put together also includes some estimates from a couple of certified trail building associate contractors. Those estimates are from, the first contractor is Trail Dynamics. The total budget for that estimate is $19,000. The second estimate is from a contractor by the name of Headwaters Environmental, and the total budget for that bid is $15,400. Before I talk about the recommendation, it's important for you to know what the discussions were by the Parks and Rec Board and the input from Peter Barr in terms of the variables that we considered in coming up with the recommendation. So the first variable was in terms of sense of urgency. As a result of the damage, one half of what we refer to as the 3.5 mile loop over Buffalo Creek Park, one half of that loop is now closed as a result of this damage. It is unusable in its current state, so we had to close one half of the park effectively. There are user safety issues there. Even though we have up signage and we have up barriers, some people, either by choice or by accident, may find their way onto the closed portion of the park, and there's a user safety issue as well. There is also significant erosion potential due to weather and or users finding their way on to that side of the park. Lastly, under the sense of urgency, there's basically a negative user experience. People come to Lake Lure to go to Buffalo Creek Park to hike, to ride their mountain bikes, and not having access to the full park is is not necessarily a good thing for us from an economic vitality point of view. Okay? So all those things create a sense of urgency that we need to get this situation fixed as soon as possible. The second variable is that we looked at in considering and determining the recommendation that we made is experience. We need a contractor that has a certified trail association builder. They know what they're doing in terms of rebuilding trail, rehabilitating trails, and also implementing erosion control measures. The third variable is availability. Availability from a point of view of starting the project and finishing the project as soon as possible, availability of manpower, and availability of certain machinery that is going to be needed to do earth moving and things like that. And the last variable is, of course, price. So if I kind of cut to the chase with regards to the analysis and the conclusion, our findings, along with Peter and CMLC, is that Trail Dynamics, even though they're a higher bid, Trail Dynamics is the preferred contractor. Some reasoning behind that. Trail Dynamics is the contractor that built and constructed the trails originally within Buffalo Creek Park back in 2013. So they have intimate awareness of what that trail needs to be and what that trail should be. Trail Dynamics has the manpower resources and the machine resources necessary to bring to the job. Trail Dynamics has committed to complete the job by March 17th, given and as long as the council makes a quick approval of their of our suggestion to get them involved with this. So if we can call Trail Dynamics tomorrow and say, yeah, the town council has approved this, they've already got it ready to go on their schedule. They'll start by sometime in early February, and they've committed to complete the project by the middle of March. That will best meet our sense of urgency that we feel is needs to be applied to this situation. Additionally, the town staff, Peter, and the Parks and Rec Department are investigating, researching, and requesting some possible funding sources that would reimburse the town after we spend the money to reconstruct and rehabilitate the trails for some or all of the cost. The net on that is, the worst case is we'll find no reimbursement funding. And it'll be an expenditure that is borne entirely by the town. The best case is, as a result of our research and requests, we'll find some or all of the funding to be able to reimburse the town. Things that we're investigating are disaster relief programs by the state, and the Water Conservation Act funding, insurance, although we found out that insurance will not be able to cover this. But there are 3 or 4 different alternatives that we are reviewing and researching that could possibly provide some reimbursement funding towards this project. All those things, and for all those reasons, Peter Barr in his report, and you'll see that it's in your packet, has recommended Trail Dynamics, and the Parks and Rec Department endorses that recommendation through a formal motion and a request to Town Council to approve up to $19,000 for Trail Dynamics to start that job as soon as possible. And I'd gladly take any of your questions.
Have you been formally rejected by the Forest Service? Have we been told that we can't get anything back from them?
I would say no. We are in the process of initiating some discussions with the Forest Service about both of the fire lines that were created. So as far as I know right now, Mayor, we have a chance to get some funding or resources from them towards this. We have been rejected by insurance. We did approach insurance. Town Manager Nally approached the insurance company, and they rejected the claim on that.
Okay. I was talking the other day with one of the public information officers, and he asked me about it. So I said, sorry? You can't hear? Okay. He asked me about it, so he was aware, without me even bringing it up. So I said, yes, we'd like you to investigate it. I'll give you the name afterward.
Okay,
Um,
great.
I've walked that trail, and I haven't been up there since with the damage, but I can imagine, because it's really steep, and with a few good rains, what's $19,000 today may be $30,000 a month from now.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
The potential for the damage to get worse is real, it's immediate, and it's severe.
Yeah, the Parks and Recreation Department has always been extremely good stewards of everything that we have provided for them, and I see no reason at all not to approve the $19,000 that they're asking for here. So,
There's two motions.
okay.
I knew you had Ed over there, he's always
Yeah,
working me.
and yeah, if we don't do this, Ed will probably be up there with a shovel and a mattock, and
That's
we'll be
right.
have to send EMS to get him. I'll make a motion that we approve the Buffalo Creek Park repair contract with Trail Dynamics in an amount not to exceed $19,000, and authorize the town manager to execute the necessary documents, and to approve the transfer of $19,000 from the general fund balance to the capital outlay trail construction line item.
Motion made by John. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Second by Stephen. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Okay. And I have one more note from Stephen here. If his laryngitis doesn't improve, I'm gonna recommend we send him for a class in penmanship. Kudos to Peter Barr, Larry Chakowski, Clint Calhoun, and Ron Morgan for expediting the damage assessments and corrective actions needed. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you,
One-
Commissioner Weaver. Thank you all, appreciate your support.
And one comment I would say is, let's have our town attorney review those contracts before signature.
You actually, he may,
said
This is, I'm missing paragraphs 1 through 14 in my copy here. I was trying to read through it real quickly.
it should be, let's see, I have the original here. Should be 4 pages.
Anyway, just
Yeah.
give our attorney time to review it and then get with Ron.
If there's
Do
any,
that by tomorrow.
wonderful, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
good. Thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
I want you checking in.
Okay, and that took care of all of item A.
Exactly, that's fine.
Thank you.
Item B is the Hickory Nut Gorge Community Covenant. Tommy?
Tommy Hartzog, 323 Maytho Trace. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the time on the agenda. I want it known that I represent the Hickory Nut Gorge Foundation in addition to the Chamber of Hickory Nut Gorge. We, over a period of time, and I say we, many citizens observed many volunteers such as yourself that serve on different committees, and it doesn't have to be a municipality, it could be a church or a school board. The numbers that we've gotten and assembled is there are at least 23 types of organizations around here that have some form of governance. And in almost all cases, they're volunteers. And in some cases, some of the civil discourse, if you want to call it that, has been counterproductive, speaking softly about it, and very strongly negative and toxic to us working together in a unified fashion for the best outcome for today and for posterity, for all the citizens of the gorge. Many things have been written over time. I'm holding one, Civil Society, the Underpinning of American Democracy. You can find all kind of things written about this. With a very generous grant from an anonymous citizen who loves the Hickory Nut Gorge and all the people in it and wants our culture to be optimized and work together in unification as issues come up and they're debated. With that grant, we started in February of 16, beginning the process, hiring an outside facilitator to establish the Hickory Nut Gorge Community Covenant. And it is focused on civil discourse, trust and respect for community servants, people that do volunteer their time. It is designed to unify. It is designed to help us get to truthful solutions about issues that face us going forward. The process started with a design team, and those people were picked based on volunteerism and other activities in the community. After that design team assembled, we had an action team, an entirely separate representative body from the whole of the Hickory Nut Gorge, worked on an action plan to implement and get the public's input. We started a 2-month campaign in the spring of this past year with invitations and notifications in the post offices, every single website we could find, articles in the Breeze, publications on the Ingalls bulletin board. I don't think, and we made announcements at all public meetings that the chamber held and the foundation held. We tried to leave no individual that had a vested interest in our community uninvited. In fact, we went door to door, quote, quote, inviting people by telephone that we had seen at public meetings and all. We wanted to make sure that everyone knew that they had a seat at the table. The first meeting was held on May the 24th at Rumbling Ball Resort. And I don't have the specific numbers, but I'm going to give you estimates. Between 60 and 65 people participated, a very representative sampling from all over the Hickory Nut Gorge, because we made it clear if you couldn't come to one of the meetings, doesn't matter if you're from Gurdon or Bills Creek, come to any one of the three. So we made it non-geographically specific. You were invited to any of those three. The results of that meeting, after a half a day's workshop, were held closely, and the participants asked to not reveal the bottom line results so that it wouldn't taint or influence the future meetings. The second meeting was held on June the 7th, and it was held at the Chimney Rock Fire Department. The third meeting was held on June 21st here in Lake Lure Town Hall. In all total, we had over 160 people from this community show up and roll their sleeves up and go to work. After we assembled the results, we had another group separate and apart from the participants try to align or see where the alignments were and the conclusions of all three groups. And it was amazing how it all worked. And so with all of this, we generated the Hickory Nut Gorge Community Covenant. We're going to be starting with you. We wanted the town of Lake Lure to be the first to adopt. So Rumbling Ball Resort, I'll be visiting with Chimney Rock Village next week. All of these will follow your lead. Each council member and the mayor has a copy of the final covenant. And so I'm here tonight to ask you to formally adopt the covenant with the understanding that future generations may want to modify it mildly. There'll be a provision for that. I'd also like to request that each and every January for the upcoming year that you reaffirm the commitments made within the covenant. I do want to emphasize before I put it to you that this is in no way, shape, or form meant to suppress free speech or tell people what they can say. Is to try to encourage people to speak constructively, and how they say. We can all disagree, but it's how you disagree that makes a big difference. And so I'm open to questions, or hopefully you'll, discuss it and adopt and go from here.
Tommy, I personally want to thank you for all the time and effort you spent on this. It was certainly a worthy effort, and something apparently well received by the community, judging by the number of people that participated. So thank you very much. I think it's something that's very much needed, and I for one support it. I expect everyone will support it. If you, I guess we're looking for a motion on this as well, that is something that we adopt.
Whatever makes it official.
Okay. All right, well, I'll make do we have a motion laid out? If we don't, I'll make a motion that we adopt the recommendations of adopt the Hickory Nut Gorge Community Covenant.
Motion made by John, do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Bob. Any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's
Thank you,
unanimous?
Tom.
Okay,
We appreciate the hard work.
Thank you.
very good, Tom. Very good.
And one thing I want to, at the bottom, and I won't read the entire thing, but I want the public to know that there'll be copies on the table if you would like to take home with you. I'm going to officially, and is Wynn still here? And Kevin, would you two join me in presenting this to the mayor? Would you mind? And I want to, one of the first things as these two guys come up here is I want to read the bottom four, or not the bottom four elements, but just a little bit at the bottom. We, the citizens of Hickory Nut Gorge, thereby resolve to, and the number one thing that each organization should have in place is guidelines for public meetings. And that is to say, honor and abide by each organization's meeting guidelines. And as most of you know, this town has published their meeting guidelines, which during public speaking allows for 3 minutes, and that's fair to everyone. And so I have a little gift for you. This is a 3-minute timer, and this can be left here at the lectern.
I see that it's run out.
I'm starting it over. And by the way, this is very easy to use. This is an educational tool built for 4th to 8th grade, so most people can manage this.
We can handle it, yeah.
So, Kevin, please come up, because you and Wynn and everybody, we just wanted to thank you for this. You can handle it. It's all about that. We just want to thank you very much.
Okay, very good, guys. Thank you very much for all the hard work.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Gotta leave that timer here, Tom.
Okay. Item number 10C. The project is sewer manhole inspection services agreement from Brown Consultants and Buyers. I don't see Harlow here. I thought he might be here.
I know a little bit about it from the utilities board, if you want me to go over that.
Go ahead.
Basically, what we've got is now that the lake is down, we're still having infiltration of water through what we think are the regular manholes around the lake. Also, we have some bad pipes that private individuals own around the lake. And what this process is go around the entire lake, identify illegal taps or poor taps, or taps have come apart into the lake bed while this water is down. Is a perfect opportunity to inspect all of these connections. And therefore, we've got our engineering team and Don Byers, who helps run the sewer plant, to go around to each and every one of these properties and inspect any lines that are connecting into the manholes to make sure that it's grouted around where that tap's made into the manhole. But also, we still have a lot of PVC lines that float in the water, and those have a tendency to come apart. Some of them are legals. We've got a few people that have tapped illegally into them. So this is the engineering and process to do the entire lake perimeter. Most of it will be walking around the perimeter, and then some may be by boat, but that's what this is about. And the utility board endorsed this and wanted this done while the water's down this far.
I do have a question. I believe in past years, and a number of years back, when the lake was lowered every year, Public Works, I believe, always inspected all of the manholes on a regular basis.
Right.
And now that we don't lower the lake every year, it's usually every 3 years, except when we mess up the schedule with whatever we're doing, like this year, the dam work.
Right.
But the expense of having engineers do these inspections, is this something that we need to do on a regular basis, or is this something that, I know we've had turnover in our public works, and maybe we've overworked our public works in other areas, but is this something that is going to be a regular expense at engineering rates, or is this something that we can foresee being able to be done in the future as it has been in the past by Public Works?
I would like to see Public Works a whole lot more involved on it. With the new general manager, I'll call him, a new director of Public Works, he's not familiar with the lake, but we do have others with the town that are familiar with it. And I'm kind of like you, I'd like to kind of see, I would like to recommend this goes on hold for 30 days till our next meeting. I would like to see our town manager meet with our Public Works director and put a hold on this for 30 days until we see.
Well,
I know, but I saw the name there, but I'd like more conversation on it before we make any action on it.
Well, my thinking is, we do have a new person who isn't familiar
I
with.
see that. I'm sorry, Steve, sorry.
Yeah.
He's listed on part of the
Yeah.
Brown Engineering list, but here again, we've not had a conversation from our council. This is first brought up to us as far as right now as a recommendation from the Utilities Board, but I would like to see more conversation with the Public Works and delay this for 30 days.
If you delay,
Okay.
it'll be pushing
If,
time.
yeah, the only concern about, and you've researched this and I haven't, if we delay it for 30 days, will there still be adequate time to get it done before the lake comes up?
That'd be 30 days. Probably what we ought to do is we probably ought to make a motion to approve the monies, but also have it where if y'all let me get with Ron on it and see if we can get more utility involvement and less engineering involvement.
Well, we're meeting again in, what, a week or two?
31st.
The 31st. Why don't
It's
we,
2 weeks.
finish it up then?
Yeah.
Maybe approve the money now so Brown could be getting geared up.
Yeah.
And then we would have that much time to see who we could send with
Yeah.
him and,
Shorten the time.
learn from Brown as they're going around
But
and
not,
doing it.
you know, not only learn, but if we can get more of our staff involved, this
Yeah.
is a not to exceed contract.
Right.
There's no reason to me why it shouldn't be about half this price to do this work. So if you'll do that, I'll make that motion, and then we'll agree to go ahead and finalize it on the 31st, but we'll approve the money now.
Yeah, we'll approve up to, but what we want to explore between now and the 31st is how do we get more of our folks involved so they can be the lead on this, next time the lake comes down.
Right, and also reduce the cost.
And
if we
reduce the cost by them spending time on it.
All
Yeah,
right.
okay.
I'll make the motion that we approve the Brown Engineering contract not to exceed the $19,000. And however, we're also going to readdress it in 2 weeks and look to involve more of our Public Works people to reduce the cost for the inspections.
Okay, motion made by Bob, do I hear a second?
The amount of money, 18,125.
Okay, we'll have around 18,125 then, yeah.
Okay, all right, I'll second it.
Second by John. as part of further discussion. If I recall correctly, the last time that we did something like this, we found some really unusual things. There's gonna be limited time to get some of those things done, so maybe there's a way of identifying and prioritizing the type of things such that we can go after people that have the severe problems and get them, make sure that gets done this time
I agree. And
or
more,
something. So I just want to add that, it doesn't have to be part of the motion, but I just remember there were some really strange things that showed up,
right, and that's,
so.
you're exactly right.
And those need to be corrected, but fortunately or unfortunately, whichever the case may be, the lake will be drawn down again next year. So we may discover some things that can be postponed and
Yes.
not be a danger.
Right, but then they'd be demanded to be repaired the next go-around.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Okay. All righty. I guess that, we didn't ask that to have the approve the transfer. Okay, that'll be taken up at the 31st meeting. Okay? Is that okay with everybody? Okay, so that's deferred. All right, item number D, ordinance number 1701-10, amending the Lake Lure General Ordinance, Chapter 51, Sewer Systems Ordinance, Section 51.05, connection to sewer system required. Okay, I think everybody's read this. Basically, it's an amendment to saying that there will be no more disconnection if you're within certain distances or certain parameters of the sewer line, is the addition to the way I recall it, without getting it from underneath my desk.
If I understand it correctly, it's not requiring someone who's not on the sewer now to connect. It's just that if they're, objecting to the new sewer rates and want to put in their own septic system, we're not allowing that. And on one hand, I hate to get in people's business about that, but we're in such a unique situation here that if we don't have everyone pulling together as much as they can, it just, when one pulls out, that increases the price for everybody else. So, it's a little bit distasteful in one respect, but for the overall good, I think we need to do it.
Well, also, I would just add that the sewer situation has been questionable at best in a lot of the older developments, and in order for us to protect our lake and to have quality assurance of any kind, I think that particularly in the areas close to the lake. Now, up on top of a mountain, that might be different, but I don't think we have any sewer lines on top of mountains that people want to change to a septic tank. But as we work toward the green line, hopefully, everybody working together and participating in the best system for disposing of the sewer is essential, and that we all don't go off on a tangent and dig a hole and bury a barrel like they did in times past.
With that, I'll be willing to make a motion regarding ordinance 1701-10, amending the Lake Lure General Ordinance, Chapter 51, Sewer System Ordinance, Section 51.05, connection to the sewer system required, that we approve that motion.
Motion made by Bob. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mary Ann. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Aye, okay. All right. Item number, 8, we have to move into closed session. Bob, you just want to
Yeah, I'll find that piece of paper again. Here we go. I'll make a motion that we enter into a closed session in accordance with GS 143-318.11A3 for attorney-client privilege or legal claims.
Okay. Thank you all for coming.
Well, that's a motion.
Yeah, that's a motion.
Motion? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you.